Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com, and I think every Saturday it seems like my camera gets out of whack. I don't know what I do throughout the week. It just slowly just kind of moves. But I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one word conversations. This is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place where you can be yourself and live your life. And there are a number of items there from my Beyond the Shell book series to my U Journal and the U cards, which I spotlight on the show. The U cards are intention setting cards, and I typically use the cards to set the intentions for our conversations. And so today I picked I am heard. I am heard. You are lovable, which is always good to know. And the quote card for today is be you, the world will adjust. I think that's the second time this week that one came up too. So it's kind of fun when I shuffle them and they come up consistently. So with that in mind, I am going to introduce our word for today. Our word for today is learn. This is something that it is very interesting for me because that's, I consider myself a lifelong learner, that phrase. But I think we all are. Some of us recognize it, and sometimes it feels like some of us don't recognize that we need to learn something. But I don't want to get too far into this. So as I do, I invite a guest in, and we have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing great. Now, this is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Well, I'm Gina Burton, and I am local to Greenville. I am a real estate agent with Service Realty Group, specializing in trying to find pet-friendly homes. I have a pet rescue background, so my passion lies with that. Although I will help anyone that needs it, I love it. Helping first-time home buyers achieve their dreams of getting into that home that they want, or empty nesters, whichever. I just love helping people and meeting new people and learning about their stories and how they come to be. And a lot of people don't know this, but I actually came to Greenville from a dart on the map. And but
And
it's
we're-
been, I'm
From a
sorry,
dart on the map, I
from a
think I
dart on
think
the
that's
map. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we had South Carolina narrowed down, and then the couple friend that we moved down here with threw the dart on the map and hit Anderson.
right.
So I actually started out in
Then you moved
Anderson.
it over, right?
Well, no,
Right.
it gets interesting because I actually started out in Anderson for about a
Uh,
year and a half or so, which is
okay.
still, if you don't know, very, very rural.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but
I
when we decided to move, a few weeks after, my mother, being devastated, comes and says, "Are you all really serious about moving to Anderson?" So we
right.
said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, can you find out how far Greenville is? Because my job just announced that they're moving to Greenville."
Wow. So
So it was like
and
everything
here
lined up.
right and here you are.
Yeah.
So the question of the morning, how does the word learn land for you?
Well, I've been thinking about it all week, and it's amazing that it's come up for this, because in my industry we've had to learn how to accommodate with all the COVID
Right.
crisis. We've had to learn how to do, not that we didn't before, but virtual tourings, and how to be a little bit more sensitive with um, people's needs for
Right.
protective gear and sanitizer. Good Lord, have we found out how much sanitizer is important?
Right.
um, so it's
It's really interesting, and how this time has really heightened are learning. Or I can just say for myself, I mean, because I think early on, when I started the show, there was a lot of um, people that were talking about, hey, we have been kicked off of autopilot, right? We have just
Mhm.
been just going and just going through life. And now this actively involved in our life, there's a lot of learning that has to go on. There's a lot of things that we have to understand and appreciate, and at least make choices and decisions about. And most of the times, for me, and sometimes there are some very interesting conversations in my house because of it, is I learn by asking questions.
Mhm.
And sometimes people will quickly, and I'm not just mentioning about the people that are in my house, but will quickly go from um, not just asking a question, but questioning.
Mhm.
And so it's like, I'm just asking a
They're
question. I'm not right.
interested.
I'm not questioning you. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to
Mhm.
understand. And I
Mhm.
think the more that we're able to understand each other, understand each other's needs, as you were talking about, then
Mhm.
we can learn and make different choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. So what is the biggest thing that you have seen, other than the sanitizer things, not just people buying a house, but just kind of, I guess, the process of making a home for themselves. You understand what I mean? It's just really kind of, because, okay, I'll say it this way. There is sometimes where we just look at our house or the apartments or anything. It's just, this is a place just to lay my head. But
Mhm.
when you go into like buying a house or
Mhm.
going into like creating a home,
Mhm.
there's a learning curve, I think I
Oh
felt
yeah,
for me.
absolutely.
But what do you think that happens when people kind of really say, hey, this is what I need to learn so I can really step into, I guess, buying a house or creating something?
Well, a lot of people, especially, and that's why, again, I do love working with first time home buyers, but it's a shock value. A lot of people don't
Mm,
realize the amount of work that goes into achieving that
right,
goal. I mean, the paperwork between lending and the contracts and things like that. And then, I mean, even just the initial home search process can be
right,
very frustrating, because certain people, and I say this with the best of love, but
right,
everybody has an idea of what they want,
right,
but you're never going to find everything in one home.
right.
So you have to learn where you need to compromise, what's most important, what's not, what you can live without. You know, uh,
How did you, and I love your, I guess, your niche of
Mhm.
being
Yes, I'm a great
spotlighting or on
pet
the pet.
professor in Greenville.
Right. About, pets and
Yeah.
everything, the
Hmm.
importance, pets are important to my wife, not so important to me, but I'll deal with it, right?
Yeah.
But really, when you find, when you're finding a home or when you're creating something, having people really concerned or aware that how this house, or this living, is going to be with a pet, right? With the
Absolutely.
pet in concern.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people don't realize too is, most, well, dogs, for instance, cats are a whole different breed. They just, do what they want no matter what, anyways.
Right.
It goes back to that whole Egyptian thing. They were once worshipped as gods and they never forgot it.
Right.
Dogs are a whole different breed. You know, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of behavior problems with dogs stem from, not getting enough exercise or
Hmm.
an outlet to run. So maybe that fenced yard will be helpful to keep, you know well, I'll use Max as an example, my big giant, even though
Right.
she doesn't get in the trash or anything. But okay, so Layla would be a better example,
Right.
because she does. She turned 8 and
Right.
she lost her damn freaking mind. She did, and the vet was so funny. He called it senior citizen syndrome. He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I don't care anymore." But people need to understand that maybe if they have that fenced yard and that dog can get out there and run, or if you take it to the park a little bit more, so just so that they can have that energy because they're bored. That's why they're getting into the trash. That's why they're barking. That's why they're usually misbehaving. It's almost like a toddler,
Right. Wow. It's
you know. So
so getting to, I guess, bringing in, and learning. How does,
mhm.
I don't want to say how are you in school, but I mean, but
How was I
is
in
there,
school?
is there,
Horrible.
is there, there is, but there is a, I've mentioned on the show this week, this past week, that I have a learning disability, right?
Mhm.
And it was something that I don't want to say hid or tried to act like as if I didn't have it.
But you do.
Um, but
But you
yeah, right. But it was more of, what I've embraced and kind of came to an understanding of is that, um, I just learn differently. I'm
yes.
not. It's not. It's really not a disability in some cases. But sometimes when the words or letters are backwards and all that other kind of stuff, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
kind of do okay, that's that's kind of crazy. But it is more about how how I learn differently,
Mhm.
and but I still learn, and I think sometimes because of the education system or just the way how other people learn, we kind of make it seem like we have to learn that way.
Yes.
And sometimes we miss
Mhm.
getting information or getting understanding because of that. And so going back to the question for you, it's like, you said, oh, I was a horrible student. But I mean, was there something that you were horrible in that system, or was it, it was something that you just kind of had better things to do?
Well, a little bit of both actually, because
Right. Right.
I had kind of a rough upbringing, So, but with that being said, I do think I struggled with a little bit of a comprehension. And again, I don't want to say disability because, like you said, it's just a way of learning things differently, not
Right.
to how society wants you to learn them.
Right.
Um, so I think I kind of got lost in the shuffle,
Right. I
and
feel
then
that. Yeah.
had the better things to do. It was like, okay,
Right.
well,
Now that I'm lost, right now, I'll find other stuff to do.
stay stay in the I was gonna say stay in the woods and party, but
Right. This is a morning show, right? We're
yeah,
not encouraging
exactly.
staying in the woods and party,
No,
right?
by no means, don't try that at home. But
It's
yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that, there is that lost in the shuffle type of
Hmm.
the feeling that you were talking about that causes, people to disconnect. I think some of the
Yeah.
challenges, in our society in understanding and appreciating each other is, I don't want to say it's comprehension, right?
Yeah.
It's really, it's real, and really recognize. I mean, if we how the mass conversation occurs to me, it's
Hmm.
not about people being jerks, even though
Yeah.
that I know that there are some people that are jerks. All
Of
right,
course. Of
I
course.
think there are more people they really don't understand or kind of get a good understanding, or they haven't learned, enough to really make that decision for themselves.
Yes.
And then by calling them an asshole or calling them, all other
Doesn't
type of
help
things,
things.
because it's not helping in our learning, right?
Hmm.
Type
Exactly.
of thing. And so, I did, a number of years ago a talk, and I was like, you know, I'm, you know, I'm going to talk to you like it was called like talk to me like a fifth
Oh,
grader or something like that, or
okay.
a 5 year old or something. I
Okay.
can't remember. I haven't done it for a while, but it was, and it was. it was basically saying that when you're speaking to a little kid,
Hmm.
you say things so they can get it. You say
Sure.
things with care. You say
Hmm.
things so they don't hurt themselves. You say things of that. And I think sometimes as an adult, we don't want to be talked to that way.
Sure.
Um, be, as if we don't know. But then when we don't do things that that will be beneficial,
Yeah.
then it's like, dude, you don't
Yeah.
obviously you don't know, right? Right?
It's like you can't win for
Obviously
trying. Yeah.
there is some learning gap. So how can and so that's why I stopped doing that talk for a number of reasons, but it was the point was I really wanted people to get it. I really wanted people to learn. But because of the adult label that we have,
Hmm.
we just says, you know what,
We're almost expected to know.
right? We're expected to know, and in that expecting to know, we cut off our learning
Hmm. Hmm.
because because I'll speak for myself. There are some times where I'm in situations and someone talks to me like I should know, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Hmm.
uh-oh, I don't know this. All right, am I
Yeah.
going to tell them I don't know this, or am I,
Hmm. How do I
yeah,
handle this? Yep.
right,
Hmm.
and
I've had those moments too. Yep.
right, and so but I realize that I don't know is like a powerful statement. It
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
because that's when the learning can begin, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
soon as I admit that I don't know,
Hmm.
then I can there's an opportunity to learn. And I
Hmm.
think too often in our society, in our relationships, and sometimes within our work, we will rather be clueless, right? And just
Yeah.
kind of
And
go at
admit
our
that you
own
don't
way,
know. Hmm.
right? Then to,
Hmm.
then to actually learn and then kind of get better and kind of go from there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I see that
It's
so much.
Yeah, I mean, do you? And like I said, do this is just a question for me, or you can answer it yourself. Uh, is there a reason for that? Do you think that there's a reason why people are
To
you
be
do
honest,
that?
the first thing that comes to mind is pride.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately, because I know, we don't want to think of ourselves as prideful, but, well, most of us don't.
Right.
Um, but I think it's kind of a sense of like, kind of going back to what you were saying. Oh, I'm going to feel like an idiot if I admit
Right.
that I don't know this, or, I just, I just wish we could get beyond that, like you were saying.
Right.
I mean, I have learned over the past year or so, you know what? It's okay to say I don't know,
Right.
and I'm definitely more open to that now. Like, I'm not jumping the gun anymore on things that I don't know, and secretly googling it in the
Right.
bathroom.
Right.
Oh,
And
especially when it
come
comes to
back.
my children. Especially when it comes to my children, you know how it is. You have grown children as well.
Right.
They come out with these terms, and I'm like, what does that even mean now? I'm like, and they just
Right.
look at me like, oh, come on, you don't know. And I'm like, you're sitting there Googling it, what does that mean?
Right.
I've gotten more open to saying, you know what, I'm not quite sure what that means, but let me double check on it.
Right. And I think, I was thinking about, I mean, we've purchased a number of homes, and I can remember the process of one, not knowing anything,
Hmm.
and assuming that I did know,
Sure.
things,
Yeah.
and then talking to my realtor,
Hmm.
when there was this gap of now, well, why didn't you tell me? It's like, well, I asked you if you knew, and
Yeah.
you were like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
I kind of understand.
Yeah.
And so it is, so how when that, if that comes up, I'm not assuming that people
Yeah.
come up.
Oh,
How can you manage the expectation of someone that, I don't want to say, are in pride and not
yeah.
wanting to tell you that, they really don't know or understand, this whole process type of thing. But
Well,
there's an expectation that you're just going to take care of them, right?
yeah.
Fill in the gaps for them.
Well, I kind of try to go through it anyways. Even if they say
Mm,
they don't know,
mm,
or they do know, I just kind of try to go through it anyways and say, well, let me give myself a refresher,
right. Wow. Oh,
and just kind of try
that's a
to go
great
through
way.
it. So it's been a little while, so let's go through it anyways. Here's A, B, C, and D. Here's what we need to do.
Right.
So, and
Yeah.
then I just try to make myself as open as possible. If you think, and I tell people all the time, I do it too.
Right.
If you think now, and I didn't
Right.
cover it, and you think about it later, please don't ever hesitate to call me and
Right.
ask. And I am very open to giving an explanation. And I tell people all the time, you can even text me at midnight.
Right.
Sometimes on the right night I might answer you. Sometimes I won't. Um, but
Right.
text or email, I mean, it can go either way. I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning half the time and see texts and emails and just answer them really quickly. So
Right. I when you said that, I think that was a great example. It's like, hey, let's just, I'll do a refresher course here, or I'm trying to, connect this for myself, so I'm just going to go through it. I was thinking, I wonder if I could try that with my wife. It's like, instead of right, instead of, it's like, hey, well, you probably know this, but I'm just going to go through this.
now,
Right?
I feel somehow I'm going to get blamed for that when I do that. I'm going to get blamed
But
for that.
right, I don't, there's a number of things that I have learned that I try on my wife that she just is not having it, right?
Well, she's
Yeah.
definitely a free spirit that beats to her own drum with the
Right,
best of love in the world. I love her to death. She's one of my very, very, very best friends. I consider her a sister. She's,
right,
but she definitely beats to her own drummer.
right,
And,
right.
you know, yeah. But that's part
Yeah,
of why we love her.
right. And so, yeah, and that's so, yeah, there's a lot of learning that goes on there, right?
Exactly. I'm still learning sometimes. I'm still learning. Yeah.
I'm over 30 years in,
Yes,
and I'm still I'm
exactly.
still I'm still learning.
I'm only a couple years in, and yeah, I tell her all the time I don't know how.
Yes, she's going to kill us for, like,
I know she is. I know.
talking about her
I was gonna say my
on the
phone is out
internets.
there. My phone is out there on church and blowing up. Like, stop it!
Right. So, but yeah, let's, like, change the subject. Change the
Yeah,
subject.
exactly,
I it's
exactly.
it. But yeah, I think it was really a great way of really getting past, I guess, the pride and the assumptions of something, because too often, I find myself that makes, I'll make an assumption about,
Mhm,
they understand this or they know this. And so I
mhm.
keep on going
Yeah,
until they say something, and it's like, oh yeah, they have no idea what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
exactly,
And
exactly.
it's like, okay, now we have to go all the way back. And
Yeah,
the more that you find ways to kind of say it, in a way that doesn't make them feel silly, or
yeah, exactly.
stupid, or all that other kind of stuff that keeps the
Yeah.
learning going on. I really think that's what, these times are asking for us to
Mhm.
really say, how can we make sure, um how can we make sure that people get it,
Yes.
because this is important. And this is, if it's wearing a mask, if it's, being 6 feet, is it,
Yeah.
how we, relate to, each other.
Exactly.
um and it is something that it is so important, for people to learn and to get, and that we, our communication needs to be about that. And like I said, and it really is getting to a place where it feels like we're not learning. We are
I would
still,
agree.
we are still just kind of doing things over and over, and
Hmm.
and then frustrated
Yeah,
because nobody's learning, but we're not doing anything to learn. So
exactly.
we're
It's
not
a
giving
vicious
people the
cycle. It's a vicious
right,
cycle. I mean, it's just continuous kind of, okay, we're stuck here, but we're not willing to learn what we need to do to get past it. One of
right,
my favorite sayings, and I'm going to mess it up. One of my favorite sayings is you can't make something about you can't change without being uncomfortable.
right. That's I've heard
I
something around that. So
I know I messed it up, but it's like you get the
look,
point, though.
Look, I do the same thing. That's why I come out with my own quotes, because
Yeah,
because I screw up everybody else's, right?
exactly,
So it's
exactly.
like, you know what? I'll just own it. This is what I think it is,
Yeah,
and I'll
exactly.
just go from there.
Hmm.
Um, and I wanted to share some. One of the people that are watching. I'll put up. You may know this person, but. Uh, but yeah, there is, it is that. I think, Barry, I think you're right in that. And
Absolutely.
but too often there is that. um I think that you said it. I mean, there's like no other way. It's just pride.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think how we can work through that,
yeah.
and really get to the place where we're learning, where failure is not an option.
Well, exactly. Or a disgrace. I mean,
Right.
a lot of people don't realize, we have to fail sometimes to get what we need.
Right.
You know, sometimes failure is the only way to success.
Right. Yeah. I
Because
mean, look.
not everybody does everything right on the first time.
Right. But we act as if,
As if we do. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And
Hmm.
I think someone mentioned that on the show this week. I mean, we act as if that every time we start something new, it's going to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
And
not
then, we
always
get
perfect.
mad, frustrated, and all that other kind of stuff. There was a conversation with Billy. We were talking about Will, and it's he mentioned playing through the suck, and just uh, that mentality of just really recognizing that when you're doing something new or you're doing something hard, there is going to be a sucky period of it,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and in the suckiness of that is where the learning happens, is where you realize that, oh, okay, let's do this, maybe if I do this instead of that, I can kind of create something else.
Hmm.
But too often we stop before the learning can happen,
Hmm.
and
We give
just
up
keep.
and say, "Oh, it's not going to happen." Yeah.
Right. Right. And we miss, and we miss the opportunity to learn, and to move on from there. I think there's a number of different examples and a number of different things that I guess we could talk about, or unpack. But I think we kind of hit it on the head. Is there
Oh
anything
yeah.
that's come up in this conversation that you want to leave everybody with, or kind of say that this is what learn
Just,
means, or one thing?
I mean, just that. I mean, you need to continue to learn always. Learning can be humbling.
Right.
We need to keep our pride in check,
Right.
and there's no reason not to be prideful, of course,
Right.
but when you take it to the further degree of being, so prideful that you're stubborn,
Right.
it does no good for you. It does no good for you. It just kind of makes you go backwards. And
Right.
if we can't learn, then we can't move forward and we can't grow. Especially right now, we're learning new things every day right now of how to, you know, um, deal with the public. Not, I don't know if that sounded wrong. Deal with the public, but
No, that's look,
but
the public
but
is
in
the
the
public,
community,
right?
just
Right,
doing different things, whether like you said with masks, like I said, the sanitizer, everybody's got sanitizer by the gallon,
right,
gloves, it's just it's a new world right now, and
right,
especially right now, we need to stay open to learning.
right. No,
Mhm.
I definitely get that, and the recognition that um, people are learning, right,
Mhm.
but on their own
Term.
level or their own way of of understanding of that, and how we relate to them,
Mhm.
right, will, I guess, will contribute to how we learn, right?
Yeah,
you know, you know.
exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, so this has been great.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I do too. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad that, like I said, that you agreed to do this, and like I
Yeah.
said, there's so many words out there, and when this word
Oh,
popped
I
up for
know.
me, I was like, this will be an interesting conversation,
Yeah.
to kind of do that. But thank you very much. We'll say our goodbyes in the green room,
Okay.
and
Thank
then we can go
you.
from there. All right.
Bye.
Yeah, there is a thing for me that's just coming up is, what do you need to learn today? I mean, with all the things that are happening, there's a question that comes up for me. It's like, what do I need to learn? What do I need to learn to get, we say A to B to, to just the next step. There's a lot of things that I want to do in my life. There's a lot of relationships that are important to me. What do I need to learn so I can be in it, so I can be effective, so I can make the change? Gina mentioned that, failure is a part of success, and too often we try not to learn from our failures. The more that we're able to learn from our failures, I believe, and I speak for myself, that the more that I can learn from my failures, the more that I can see the success, right? that I'm aiming for, because that's the goal, right? Really, what do I need to learn today is the question. I would love to hear in the comments and to see some things that you're learning, how learn is showing up for you. But I also invite you to connect with me on IamWilliamBrown.com and sign up for one of my free coaching sessions where you can have conversations just like this and others to see how you can be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day.